What happened was.
Hey friends, it's so nice to see you. It's today, the time is now. You are here and the weather is outside your window.
It's episode 14 of What Happened Was. It has been so fun sharing stories with you from some of my favorite artists. I wanted to share some stories with what we call in showbiz real people. I'm going to bring on nurses, teachers, animal rescue personnel, and just pepper them into the mix. Stories that are just as important as what we're talking about here in the arts community. Here to tell a story of how she became a nurse and how this past year has been working through a pandemic is my friend Adria Lee.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Hi.
I'm really good.
Who's that with you?
Little Ozzy.
Oh.
Ozzy, say hi.
Hi. Where are you right now?
In my home in Syracuse, New York.
So you are a nurse, but we met in theater school.
Yeah.
And you've had an incredible journey. I normally ask guests, what has this last year been like for you? And a lot of times I'm talking to actors who've been out of work for a year. But as a nurse, what has this last year been like for you?
Well, it has been pretty intense. I started a new job. It was actually on the day that everything shut down in New York State. So I've been a nurse for 4 years. I started a new job at one of the hospitals in Syracuse on general medicine floor that has a little bit of a focus on respiratory because we take ventilated patients, which usually you don't get outside of the ICU. So I started a new job in a hospital on a respiratory floor.
Wow.
The week that the respiratory pandemic shut everything down.
Wow.
And so I continue to feel totally grateful that I have a job. You know, I can't emphasize that enough because I know that so many people internationally are without, and I can't imagine how stressful that is. But it has been really challenging, stressful, sad, all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I value so much hearing about your experiences and having, I wouldn't say a front row seat, but a fifth row seat to your life. And
I would say,
but I'm not there with you. But to hear your experience, what you're allowed to share, which isn't a lot, but it's more the emotional impact of what you do on a day-to-day basis. And of course, my partner is also a healthcare worker, so having the two of you in my life and hearing about that this past year has really shifted perspective for me. In the arts community, it's kind of like, oh, woe is me, I can't act on a stage. And then you hear about what you're dealing with and wearing PPE all day that is very difficult to work in. Would you say that's true?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
None of the N95s fit my face. Like I couldn't pass the test where they put this hood on you and they spray a saccharin, and if you can taste the sweet, then that means that it's not being filtered correctly through the mask. And so I got assigned the only thing that I could wear into the COVID room's respirator that gets strapped onto your back, and a hood, like a hose, goes over the top, and you have to wear this like headpiece. It's like what you see on TV. It's like the kind of weird astronaut things. You go into people's rooms and they're like,
yeah.
like, it's just my papper. But it was really so challenging to wear those because even though your ears are outside of the mask, you still are hearing the machine and hearing the wind. And so when you're listening with your stethoscope to breath sounds, which are like really important during this time, you can't really hear that well. So a lot of the patients on our floors, because I work on two different ones, are high fall risks because they are either geriatric patients or they are compromised in some way that their mentation isn't all there, or they're attached to IV poles or Foley catheters. And so falls are a big deal in the hospital. And if you have a fall, then there's like, you have to worry about the patient getting hurt, and then there's a ton of documentation. So when you see a patient getting up, their bed alarm is going off, and you're like, wait, through the door, wait, don't stand, stay where you are. And then it takes like, at minimum of 45 seconds to put on all of your gear.
Wow.
I haven't had any falls, but like I've had some near misses, and it's pretty intense. So yeah, the PPE is a real thing. But we have enough of it at the hospital, so
Yeah.
thank goodness for that.
Yeah. What has been the biggest surprise of your work at this hospital? Because you've been a nurse in many different facilities and different capacities.
The biggest negative surprise has been that my pay hasn't changed. I haven't gotten hazard pay or anything, and that is really frustrating. On one end, it's very meaningful that I can be helping people now, or however you want to phrase it, being of service, being of use. But on the other hand, I have put myself at danger.
Sure. Yeah.
And my family at danger. It's just me and Amy, but Amy has asthma, and that is a real concerning pre-existing condition. In the positive, just the teamwork, I think, on the floor, like it's just so we're all just there for each other, and we understand how difficult it is and how frustrating it is to get all donned in your PPE and go in with, the apple juice, the venipuncture kit, all of the medicine, and then like remember that you get in the room and you're like, oh, I forgot to bring a washcloth. And so then you like last page through this little intercom thing that you wear on your chest, and you're like, can someone please bring me whatever?
Wow.
And then someone's there right away. So that's been really great.
I love hearing about your work, and because we've been friends for many, many years, I've kind of heard so many of your stories, but I loved when you were in Vermont. You were working with new American citizens.
A big chunk of our patient population was new Americans, new arrivals from various countries, but specifically a big community of Nepali, Somali, and people from the Congo. Yeah, it was really great and eye-opening, and I miss it.
As I mentioned, we met in theater school. I knew you, first as this brilliant actor. We were both in New York together, where you started working for AmeriCorps and working in the Parks and Recreation system in New York and doing some really gritty work. You had like a 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. pickup time, and
something crazy.
Yeah,
it was light out, so I think it was like 6:30.
And that lasted a year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was 1,700 hours worth of public service.
Wow. And cleaning parks, just a variety of duties to kind of, keep New York, make New York beautiful, keep it beautiful. Mm-hmm. Such incredible work. And then you became a macrobiotic chef. Mm-hmm. And all to say, you've had this incredibly well-rounded experience. And then
well-rounded ping pong ball.
No, I see it all as a whole. And then you become a nurse. So how did that happen? How did you decide to then become a nurse?
What happened was, so when I was in acting school with you, like towards the end of it, all of us were like, oh my God, I need to get an agent, management, auditions. And I was like, this is so not what I'm into, haven't been, don't want to be. And my sister was, I think, probably the most influential. She's amazing, and she's a teacher. When she graduated from her undergrad, she did a year of the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, and she worked with the homeless community in Seattle. Wow. For a year. It was the same type of like 1,800 hours of service. So I was looking at different volunteering options, and there was one in the Parks Department. So I applied, I got it. We were stationed in the Manhattan Borough, urban forestry environmental education. And so I just got to know all of these places in Manhattan and beyond, because we would have like all borough meeting days. So kayaked in the Bronx River and did all sorts of cool stuff. So it was a great way for like a country kid like me, because I grew up in the country, like way up near the Ontario border in New York State. It was a great way for me to be in the city that first year while all of my friends were auditioning their heads off, and I was like not doing any of that. And it was my first time volunteering and doing anything servicey like that. It was the first time I put work before my needs, I guess. That's the best way to say it.
Public service.
Started working with this woman who had a macrobiotic catering company. And macrobiotics is this lifestyle that was popular, especially in like the 60s and 70s, blend of Eastern medicine and Chinese medicine, and believes that you are what you eat, and that you should eat in harmony with the seasons. It was just a very influential chapter of my life. I worked there for 4 years, and I learned, I mean, I knew how to cook before, but like I learned how to cook. Became like really healthy in the process of working there, and began to really believe that food could be a method of healing people. I started to seriously think like, oh, do I want to go down this path of Eastern medicine, or, you know, maybe like acupuncture, like including that into my practice? Like, what is it? Herbs? Like, what do I want to do? Then I was just like, why don't I just see if an intro to biology class is something that I can wrap my head around.
Wow.
At a community college, because I knew that was a prerequisite for any type of healthcare, whether I was going to go into Eastern or Western. I had to have some sort of biology, chemistry. Took a bunch of prereqs, did really well, and I was like, oh, maybe I can do this. Like, maybe I can do this Western medicine thing and reach a lot more people than I would if I was just doing this little macrobiotic Eastern medicine thing. And as I got like more into it, I was like, yeah, I'm really into the social justice part of nursing and advocacy part of nursing, and making sure that resources are available to everyone. And applied to a bunch of colleges, got into Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, which has quite a reputation for like a strong public health.
It's like the best nursing school in the country, probably, right?
It's a good one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So then went there, and after this, who knows?
And you're a nurse.
I'm
It's
a nurse.
still, I think about it so often. It's just, you know, because of how we met and watching your journey, it's incredible. I failed math starting in 6th grade and really never could get back on the train, and I got a C's and D's in science from about then on. You know, and I could really like only understand music, acting, you know, but this remarkable journey that you go from kind of like doing a Shakespeare play to being a public servant in forestry, to being a macrobiotic chef, to being a nurse as an experiment, trying biology and chemistry, seeing like, oh, I can do this, and then going to the best nursing school in the country, and then being a nurse, and now what you do. It's really incredible. If you had known there would be a pandemic, would you still have gone into this?
No. If there's I mean, no, there's so many parts of my life, and probably most of our lives, that like if we had gotten like a glimpse, a preview, we would have been like, no, I'm not going
Absolutely
down
not.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But then here we are, and you know,
Right. Yeah. Well, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah.
Zodiac sign.
Capricorn Sun, Aquarius Rising, Leo Moon.
Favorite work of art.
It's like this art piece that Amy taught me about, of this artist Pablo Reyes. It's called Pistols for Trees. It was in this pretty like violent, drug heavy, gang heavy part of Mexico, where he advertised vouchers for electronics and appliances in exchange for guns. He got like over like 1,500 guns. He melted them down and he made 1,500 shovels. And with those shovels, they planted 1,500 trees.
Favorite book?
I'll tell you what I'm reading right now, Shuggie Bain. And before that, I read Detransition Baby.
What's the first book in your life that you remember influencing you or having an emotional response to?
Probably John Irving's A Prayer for Owen Meany. That's like the book that I remember like devouring. I was probably like 12 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Really good.
Favorite actor?
I love Meryl Streep.
Yeah, why is she so great?
Oh God.
And everyone says Meryl Streep, by the way. Yeah.
That's because she's awesome. I also think she's like I think one of the reasons she's so good is that I think she's a very good person.
I believe.
Oh God.
Favorite movie ever?
Carol. Duh.
So good.
Yeah.
Kate Blanchett. Do you believe in past lives? Who were you in a past life?
I had a very visceral response to visiting Salem, Massachusetts once.
Cool.
Maybe a witch.
Gotta go. Cool. You can only listen to one singer for the rest of your life.
Sure.
What? Wait, did you say Cher?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said sure. Cher. I love it. Yeah. Sure. Cher. Similarly, you can only listen to one genre of music the rest of your life.
Yeah, like soul.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite food?
I'm gonna have to go for Thai, but I love Mexican food.
Oh yeah, both. Best meal you've ever had in your entire life?
There's a really good restaurant in Washington, D.C. called Tip Cow. THIPKAO. But it sounds like tip cow, like tipping a cow, like what you do in the country.
Oh,
and it's a Laotian restaurant, and it is so good. I would just like to go back and say, I said coffee, and I mean coffee because I love coffee, but I love tea too.
But you have to pick one. And you picked coffee. Yeah. Best vacation spot ever, real or fantasy?
On one end, I'm thinking of like New Brunswick, like cold Atlantic experience. But then I'm also thinking, like a beach in Thailand.
Yes, that's the right answer.
Oh.
Beach or mountains?
I will say mountains.
First opera you ever saw?
It was probably like La Boheme.
Best sick day excuse?
I got sprayed by a skunk.
That's really good.
Because you can't come to work if you got sprayed by a skunk.
Backup dream job?
Oh yeah, a cook, duh.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah.
You can go to any planet.
I'm really not interested in that.
But you have to.
I'm not gonna go.
You have to.
Well, then one that isn't... Why do I have to go?
I'm saying you have to go to a planet. You can live in any time period.
Probably like the 70s or 80s. Pre-cell phone. Post-feminism.
You got the right to vote.
Yes. I got the right to,
Yeah. Basics.
I do like being able to be married to my wife.
Yeah.
I don't like cell phones. I actually like living now, too.
Now is all right, yeah. You can spend an entire year living as someone else. Who is it?
Ina Garten. You know, the barefoot Contessa?
Yeah. Do you think she is always barefoot? Okay.
How could she be? Long Island gets cold. And she goes into a lot of stores that I'm sure have a footwear policy.
You can go back in time and tell your younger self one thing.
And my younger self will listen?
Yeah.
Put on sunscreen.
What's the meaning of life?
The meaning of life is probably to be of use. But also to enjoy yourself.
What's the high note of your life? Wow. What's the low note of your life?
Oh.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome. Ozzy has returned.
That's all for today's episode. Puppies and rainbows till we meet again.